And that was the song that never ends. It does, my friends. It ends. You just heard it end. But that is one of the most iconic divas around, Lamb Chop and her mom, Sherry, along with Hush Puppy and Charlie Horse as well. And I am so honored, so honored. This is my second go round at this whole thing, and I'm hoping to get it right this time.
Well, you
My
obviously got
guest,
it right last time, Sam.
my guest is the one and only Mallory Lewis, sister to Lamb Chop. Mallory, how
Hello.
are you?
I am fantastic.
Well, it's nice to see you not in the boat because we did the
Yes.
last interview by phone, and it's
Yep.
nice to see you. And I understand that you are living in a very beautiful place, Portugal.
Sure am. We have immigrated to Portugal, or as I like to say, escaped the United States. It's kind of funny because my ancestors came the other way, but you got to know when it's time to go. So we are loving living in Portugal. We love the people. We love the food. Um, it's beautiful. The weather's great, very much reminiscent of Southern California where I used to live. So we're very happy, all of us.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because if there's somebody that really deserves to be happy, it's you.
Oh, thank
Your
you.
mom started off a great, well, actually, your grandparents started off a great entertainment legacy with Peter Pan the Magic Man, and
I
your
like
mom being your grandmother being a pianist.
I like to say that I come from a long line of show-offs.
And so you come about this whole thing honestly. Now, the reason that we're talking today is a very cool reason, and we'll get to that in a moment. But your mom got into ventriloquism at a very young age. Did you get into it as well as at a young age, or were you a teenager by the
No,
time you got into it?
I didn't get into it until mom died. I had absolutely no, I was mom's head writer. I was her producer. I was a novelist. I had no intention of becoming an entertainer. It just wasn't on my, as a producer, if you have a great talented star, that's all you want. And I had that. And within a period of 6 weeks, I went from having that to having lost my mother and my star. And so that's when I put on Lamb Chop, and I never had to learn how to be a ventriloquist. I just knew. I never had to learn Lamb Chop's voice. I just knew.
Maybe it was just meant to be. Like, you know.
I guess it is what happened at any rate.
Now, a lot of people know puppets from their youth and that sort of thing. Um, Going back as far as Howdy Doody, Charlie McCarthy, you can move on up and into today with Darcy Lynn and her and Petunia and Jeff Dunham and Peanut and his gang. But what I find different about Lamb Chop and the family, as I like to call them, is that they seem alive, more alive than the other. What
They
do you
are. David
contribute that to?
Copperfield, David Copperfield summed it up. He said when Sherry worked with Lamb Chop and by extension Charlie Horse and Hush Puppy, she made you love them. She made you care about them. I don't think anyone loves Peanut. They may think Peanut's funny. They may like Peanut, but nobody's, or I can't say nobody. It is just a different level of emotional connection that people have with Lamb Chop and the boys than they do with other puppets.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I can remember watching Lamb Chop when I was young, and I can remember um, the freedom, the feeling of caring, the feeling of inclusion.
Well,
if that
mom,
makes
mom
sense.
really, it does. Mom was the queen of inclusion and diversity and equity, all of the things that are weirdly being banned in the United States. Like, how are you more afraid of diversity than you are of dictatorship? I don't really get that.
Yeah, me
Clearly,
neither.
clearly half the population did not watch PBS. Because the half that did, it was a kind place to have a television show and a kind place to be a child.
Yeah, and that's true because to this day, there are still shows on there that are being shown that are strictly for kids to escape all the stupidness going
Mm-hmm.
on in the world right now. And I can never thank you guys enough for that for from my
Aw.
childhood to now. I actually doing the research for this interview. I went into the YouTube page and I saw some of the stuff with your mom. Like there was one, it was a Christmas message from 1967, and it was so real. And it took me back to my being
Well,
5 years old and being excited for Christmas.
they talk about authenticity on social media, and Lamb Chop and I have very strong presence both on TikTok and Instagram. And they talk about how authenticity is what matters. Well, I believe that authenticity has always mattered. And that's what made mom so special. And they also talk about this new, the new concept of influencers. Well, come on now. What do you actually think celebrities have always been? They may not have used the term influencers, but mom was an influencer and her brand was authentic. And that is the same thing that still resonates with people today.
And that's the beauty. That truly is the beauty of the whole thing is that she was authentic.
Mhm.
And she was so talented, not just as a ventriloquist, but she could sing, she could dance, she was funny.
Yep.
You know, she had a heart as big as a house.
She was
Uh,
smart. She was incredibly efficient. She was focused. And people can find out all about the Sherry Lewis that they do not know because there
that
was a side to her that people think of her as a nice little lady who played with puppets. And that was part of what she did, wasn't who she was. And as you know, Mom's documentary is hitting the theaters in New York as of July 18th. And then I think August 24th, it hits Toronto. And it's
yeah,
called
and
Ham Chop.
it's going to be
Share.
great show. I'm sure of it. I will be making sure to remind the listeners as we get closer to the dates
Fabulous.
in the cities that we cover. And the thing that I'm looking forward to is seeing some of the behind the scenes things that have happened with Sherry and Lamb Chop. And like I said, I was doing some research. Okay, let's call it just reminiscing. Let's call it what it was. And there was one that I saw. I don't want to go into the details of it, but did you ever find out if Jerry Lewis was your father or not?
Not. Of course not. But
That
yeah, that
people
was just a funny bit that I wrote.
that was actually a very funny bit that you wrote, and people you should check it out on YouTube. Just look under Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop, the documentary, and there's all kinds of great clips from the documentary. There's Mallory and Lamb Chop clips, there's Sherry and Lamb Chop clips, and that's just one of them. And there's all kinds of great bits. There's one where Lamb Chop wants to be president. Check that one out as well. So let's talk about the documentary. I'm very interested in the documentary. How far back does the documentary go?
Birth,
And it basically tells the story of how she got into it and how Lamb Chop came about.
everything. Yes, everything you ever wanted to know, but were afraid to ask about Sherry Lewis. And people are going to find out um, some interesting stuff. I mean, nobody's going to walk away from this and go, whoa, that was shocking, because she didn't lead a shocking life. She led a purposeful life. There's no more wire hangers moment in the documentary. Biggest problem the director had was finding anyone to say anything other than she was incredibly hardworking and incredibly focused. Because those were her hallmarks. But she was also a woman. She was also a wife. She was also a mother. She was also an adventurer. She was also a TV producer. She was also a feminist. She was also highly political. There's a lot of things, none of which negate the fact that she was Lamb Chop's mommy, but um, are things that people may or may not be aware of about my mommy.
And it's going to be an exciting documentary. And for those of you who are listening that are not able to get to the theater to see it, it it will be
It'll be
coming
on,
out as well,
yeah.
digitally,
Streamers and
very soon.
DVDs,
And
the whole shebang. What I would like people to know is I would like to thank their outer adult for bringing their inner child to meet their childhood best friends. And I think that the adult that walks out of the movie theater um, will feel that he or she has gotten to know mom as an equal, not as a child looking up at an adult.
yeah, they always say that don't put your idols on a pedestal because they can't live up to it. Your mom
Mom was
kind of
able to
kind of
live up to
does.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
she
they
kind of
always say
does.
don't meet your heroes. But in this case, I think that's a mistake as well because mom will not disappoint. But she was so much more. That's the real issue. It's not that there is any dark secrets hiding in a basement, but she was just so much more than people thought, than people knew. Our director did a fabulous job picking the footage and telling the story. As the estate, I really had very little to do with the storytelling aspect because if the estate is involved, then it's not a documentary, it's a puff piece. So, um, I was not deeply involved in the story. But I wasn't surprised at the story that Lisa told simply because it's the truth. I mean,
That is so cool. Um, the documentary, I think it's going to show so many sides to Sherry, and it's also going to show that she was human. She wasn't just a ventriloquist. Like you said, she was a mom, a wife, a woman. She was all that. And one of the things that resounded with me in my research was that when she passed away, people thought Lamb Chop passed away.
well, that was why I put Lamb Chop on, was because people kept sending me emails saying, is Lamb Chop dead too? And I could not I could not let yes be the answer to that question.
And since then, you've been very, very busy.
Mm.
You've been doing all kinds of different fairs and festivals and
Yeah,
shows and
I really
things
haven't
of
done
that
it.
nature.
I really haven't done fairs in years at this point, but I did a lot of performing arts centers. I did a lot of touring with the USO. Um, and now I live on TikTok and Instagram.
So are you going to be touring again at some point? Maybe not the States, but are you going to do some stuff maybe around Portugal or
I do a quarterly charity that I founded in Portugal, a quarterly event to raise money for local charities. And and Lamb Chop goes to all of the anti-Trump rallies that are in Portugal and speaks at those. Um, but I don't anticipate going back on the road touring. But
well,
who knows? Never
you
say
have
never.
yeah, you have earned the right to relax a little bit. And
I find that I can reach more people more easily doing a TikTok or an Instagram than I
yeah,
can touring around. So maybe I'd come to Canada.
you're always welcome. You know that.
I would tour Canada.
I will write that down and set that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people haven't had a chance to see Lamb Chop or the boys live. When dad and mom bring Junior and his sister to the shows, how do they react to Lamb Chop?
Well, the kids love lamb chop, but I don't do a kids show. I do a show for the adults in the audience.
Do they
Now,
like to reminisce?
yeah, there's nothing inappropriate for kids. I don't say dirty words or anything like that, but it is not aimed at the kids. Half the show is me and Lamb Chop and Hush Puppy performing, and the other half is me telling stories about mom and showing curated footage. So the kids who happen to be there, which is usually less than 10% of the audience, the kids who happen to be there always have a good time, but it is the parents to whom the show is aimed.
Oh, so that is so cool. And like I said, the documentary is Sherry and Lamb Chop. It will be released in New York on July the 18th. It will be in Toronto August the 24th. If you guys check out my Facebook page, I will be sure and list all the dates so that no matter where you are, you can probably catch a show. If not, it will be streamed digitally. It will be available on home video, apparently.
Mm.
And the one that I really get a kick out of is it's going to be available educationally, which means a lot of people are going to be able to study it. And that's cool because she is somebody that needs to be um, studied and in the sense of she did such a wonderful thing for so many years. And maybe, it's something that somebody can take some pieces of from here and there, and maybe they can live the legacy in a different way.
Nobody's touching my puppet.
No, 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 no. That's not
But,
what I meant.
but
I'm sure she would have something to say about it.
uh-huh.
Well, just before I let you go, is there anything you want to say to the listeners
I
before
just
we
want to
let you
say,
go?
Sam, thank you so much for having us on again. And I think you can't, if you liked Shari Lewis as a child, you'll love this documentary. Your inner child will be happy. Your outer child will be fascinated. Your outer adult will be like, oh, I didn't know that. That makes sense now because you watched mom through the lens of a child's eyes, and you will really enjoy her through the lens of a grown up. So I would say if you have a chance to see it, go see it. If you don't have a chance in the theaters, it will be available online. If you want to see Lamb Chop on a near daily basis, you can follow us on TikTok or on Instagram. We post 5 out of 7 days. Um, and see you at the movies.
And please give my love to Lamb Chop.
I will indeed. Thank you, Sam.
All right. And with that, this is another edition of A Chat With. I want to thank my guests, two favorites of mine, Marshall Crenshaw and Mallory Lewis. Thank you for stopping by and taking some time out of your day. I really do appreciate it. The movie again, Sherry and Lamb Chop. It will be out July the 18th in New York and in limited theaters all over the place. So be sure and check it out. But right now, we're going to play the official trailer so you can find a little bit of information, hear a little clip. And then when we come back, Rob Charles takes over. Thanks for listening. Take care. Have a great day, guys. Love you all. Bye bye.
Thanks, Sam.